This one Prabhuji was saying we should all chant together. But I remember when I would go spend a lot of time with Ayendra Prabhu, who I was very close with, he would always say, not just like a robot, not coming together to impress anybody, but chanting the pure name. Actually taking advantage, because this name kind of slingshots you at the lotus feet of the Lord, you know? So it's very important. Even when we're chanting our japa, even when we're chanting, like Prahalad didn't chant japa, he didn't chant Hare Krishna, he chanted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, right? While they were trying to attack him. The Nagas, Hiranyakashipu said, to the king of the Nagas, which are very powerful people, they're shapeshifters. There's a lot of conspiracy stuff now you see online. Shapeshifters. This politician's a shapeshifter. It must be a shapeshifter. You know? But actually, there are shapeshifters, and they're the Nagas. So Hiranyakashipu captured the main king and his wives, and he said, you have to go poison with your venom Prahlad. So he went to go bite Prahlad, and what happened? His teeth shattered, right? And he was bleeding and crying, and he understood immediately, because he was an advanced soul, the king of the Nagas, what have I done? So he went back to Hiranyakashipu and he said, I cannot keep going. And Hiranyakashipu said, then you must die if you do not continue. So before he went again to Prahlad with his people, his teeth were already smashed out, ordering his other Nagas and Naginis to kill Prahlad, he apologized to Prahlad, and Prahlad was just chanting so peacefully, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Totally undisturbed. Now look, if someone was going to attack me with a weapon, I'd be pretty peeved. I'd be pretty upset. Or if someone, you know. But this boy teaches us an example on all levels of our spiritual life. Bhakti, humility, which is the most difficult, especially for me. Kindness, being tolerant, you know how difficult it is to be tolerant. And he was he had all freedom. Because we all want freedom, right, in this material world. If, you know, we want what everyone else has. Money will get me freedom. Oh, Grihastha life will get me freedom. No. Pure freedom is being in any situation, like Prahlad says himself, doing your svadharma, but not doing it for the results for yourself, offering it to Bhagavan or his devotee. So, I love focusing on him and his teachings because it's something that's very much passed up in our movement. Prabhupada wrote that little book, Prahlad Maharaj's teaching. You can read this in an hour or half an hour if you're a speed reader. And there's so much essence in there. And how many of the youth have read this book, Prahlad Maharaj's teachings? Okay, maybe one, and how many are here? How many have read Prabhupada's books? The youth. No youth, not the seniors. So this is, you know, boggles my mind, because when I was born in this movement, like many of us, there's a few of us here that were born in the movement, we had to memorize the whole Gita. That's a lot of shlokas, right? And the Sanskrit and the translation. And we had to learn all of Srila Prabhupada's books, right? And the fundamental philosophy is like, I just opened up this beautiful, the third canto, and it's talking about Prahlad Maharaj. I just opened it up. Srila Prabhupada's mentioning Prahlad. And sometimes we take it for granted. We think, oh, Hare, I can go right to Radha Krishna. No, we cannot. We cannot. Because we're full of anarthas. Envy, jealousy, and pride, abhiman. Not this lust and all that stuff, that's biological, but envy and jealousy and pride are not, we're not born with that. So Prahlad did not have one of these three, but Hiranyakashipu had all three of these. Even though he was a great man, powerful soul, he did pujas, he did yagyas, he gave Brahmins so much wealth, but the pride clouded his judgment, and he was told, this boy, now I will sever your head from your torso. In Sanskrit, the proper translation is, I will sever your head from your torso. First he said with his hands, then he said with his sword. So, my dad's never hit me or shouted at me. Maybe some of your parents have shouted. But when I was young and I heard this, I could never understand how could your dad be so mean to you? You know, this would cause me a lot of trouble. Some of us have been hit, like, tapar, you know. I have one deity, it's called Veera Narasimha. So he has his hand up, and then he has a finger pointing, like it's the version of the mother and the father. Either the mother's putting the hand up, ready for one tapar, or she's pointing, Hare bacha kya kare? Shanti karo, ruk. You know, like, so this is like they say, Pita Narasimha, Mata Narasimha. He's both father and mother. He loves us. But he won't actually beat us, like our material parents can do. But this understanding, and all of his devotees that I've met, like I was speaking last time, I was here last month, have this understanding that he's like their divine father, Raksho Bhuvana, and protector, without a doubt. Now, all of us have doubts or demands, but to be fearless and have no doubt, that's very rare, and that's what from all the devatas, you know, often in our movement, we criticize these, they call them devatas. Srila Prabhupada was very heavy. Don't just worship the demigods. He was very heavy with the white people, because there was many whiteys joining in the beginning. And don't be attracted by the flowery words of the Veda. Why? Because it says, oh, if you do this, you'll get that. Prahlad said, oh, if I do a little bit of this, I'll get a little bit of that. But then it's temporary. It ends. So the devatas, they also will do, okay, I'll worship Surya, Surya Namaha, and I'll get something. But it ends, because everything in this world is temporary. Prahlad Maharaj talks about it, right? But by worshiping Bhagwan and being fearless in our spiritual life of Vaishnava, we still have to eat. Married, some of you, if you're lucky. Not married, if you're even more lucky. You know, kids, sometimes with good health, sometimes without good health, right? The greatest tapa in this human existence is the Grihastha ashram, right? And this boy who we cherish, Prahlad, the little boy Dhruva, they all got married. They tried to get out of it. Dhruva ran to the jungle. Hare Ma, Tata, I'm going to do my... She said, okay, you go. He went and did tapasya for, what was it, 6 months? Narayan immediately came. And he could have said, I'll come back with you. But he wanted to be better than his dad. And then he had to rule. Married kids. Prahlad had to rule. Who was Prahlad's son? And what was Virochana? He was a demon. How is that possible? Right? Like when I had a kid, my son, never wanted kids, but anyways, it happened. So I had a son. And when he was born, I knew, listen, immediately he came out, I said, give me him. I had like an hour alone with him, so I was doing the mantras. I said, you are not mine, and I am not yours, you are his. And I was chanting some of the mantras in his ear. I said, I don't know what you will be, a Rakshasa, or maybe a devotee, but either way, I will put some scars, I was chanting all the mantras, right? But how is it this boy Prahlad's son was one of the greatest, most powerful Rakshasa demons? And then who were his sons? Yeah, he had two. One of them was like a demon Rakshasa, the other was a devotee. Who came for Bali? Bhamana. Why didn't the Lord kill Bali? What was the blessing that Narasimha gave to Prahlad? All of your generations will be purified, whether demon or devotee. All they're purified from past, present, and future. That's why this mantra we chanted in the Havan, the Rana Vimochana Narasimha Stotra by Lord Ram, he said, please remove all the karmic debt from your devotees. Because whatever your parents had, you get 50%. And the negative you have, you give to your kids 50%, and vice versa. Karmic debt. Lord Ram says, kindly take this, like you took your nails and tore out Hiranyakashipu, take these nails and remove this from your devotees' lives. And this will make your devotees fearless. So when I would, be in India and I would meet, oh my God, a multitude of people, billionaires, chaiwalas, old, young, every class of human being imaginable. Total badmash people, chores, like thieves. They all were Narasimha devotees. And in the beginning, I was very judgmental. How can you be a badmash and worship the Lord? Because in my young youth, naturally we're young, we think we know everything. We're very judgmental. We have this abhiman. Where does this word come from? Anybody knows? Abhimanyu. Why? Because he didn't listen. They told him, don't go. You will be killed. But he had such potency and power, I cannot be killed by anybody. So it's not, and he couldn't be killed by anybody, but he could be killed by everybody at once. So this pride that we all have, this abhiman, must be vanquished. But if it comes to Narasimha, like all the people I've met, the little kids, they would walk me on top of the mountains late at night, a group of kids who were in the, I would show up in a village on a bus, and these little brats were outside playing at midnight. The rock games on the street. I'm like, what are you doing? It's 12 o'clock at night. Where's your father and mother? Soja. Shh, don't tell them. And I'm like, Narasimha Mandir kahan pe? Narasimha Devasthanam? Upar. Chalo. And they would take me, no flashlight, no shoes, in the jungle, up on top of the mountain. And then they would always show me where the hide key was. The Brahmin, they would sometimes put the key on top of the door or behind Jai Vijay. The kids always knew. So if I wanted to get into the temple without asking the Brahmin, I would ask the kids. They would bring me up there in the middle of the night, and sometimes like a snake would run out, or bats, and they didn't even flinch. And I was like, what? I gotta get my flashlight to make sure I'm okay. And these little kids were fearless. Sometimes the old ladies, there's a lion statue in Karnataka in the jungle. One old lady was walking 2 kilometers in the jungle every morning and every afternoon into evening. And this place is filled with leopards and wild elephants. When I went there with my crew, I could feel the ground shaking. And the driver and the local was freaking. We have to go, they will trample us. We were in a Maruti Suzuki van. This is nothing, tiny. They will kill all of us. I said, impossible. They said, no. And I could feel my heart, they're coming. Now, this woman, she said, no, I have to stay and do seva. I said, Mom, come, you have to, no, they won't bother me. So you see, this fearlessness is pretty awesome. And you get this by mantra, right? Not the Hare Krishna, oh, I forgot my bill. Oh, my wife's going to be mad. I forgot tomatoes at the grocery store yesterday. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Oh, I really hope my kid gets into college. Krishna. This is aparad now. Prabhupada said if you chant one Hare Krishna mantra perfectly, that's the essence, And I've seen like Madhava, Ramanuja Shankara. That's why I say in the Homa, be here now. Because who knows what happens outside the door. Be in the Homa, really concentrate on the mantra and your prayer. And the Maha Mantra means, help my dearest friend, my love, kindly engage me in your service, right? And Okay, that's a bunch of preaching. I have a little more time. I'll tell you some adventures, something more adventurous. So, a lot of Gujaratis here and a lot of Maharashtrians, I'm assuming. Anyone from Maharashtra? Oh, I'm not. And Gujarat. So Maharashtra, for years, I would find these temples, right? And in Maharashtra, there was a lot of powerful Kshatriyas. Now the Maharashtrian women, they're also Kshatriyas. So they would worship these Narasimha temples. And I would, at first I would come in and be like, hold on a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. There's a lady doing puja, in an ancient temple. Or I would hear a story. So one of them, my favorite, you can kind of see, it's a little far away, but can you see the form of Kevala Yoga Narasimha? Yeah, it's a very big deity. You can go in there and worship. Well, they didn't let anybody in there, but I bribed the local authorities. So, in Maharashtra, a lot of the temples are underground in caves or on top of mountains in caves because of the Mughal invasion, right? So these kings were so clever. They knew, look at the northern states, Muslims came through like a tornado and destroyed so much. They preempted, they had visions, a lot of the saints. And there was this cool guy, you've heard of him, Shivji Maharaj. Any of you heard of him? Shivaji Maharaj. Come on. You don't know Shivaji Maharaj? So who was his Ishtadev? Does anybody know? His Kuladev? It was Narasimha. Yeah. Do you know how many temples he saved from Maharashtra down Andhra, Tamil Nadu? Like thousands. This guy was such a warrior. He wasn't too big. He wasn't lamba. He was kind of chota guy. But he said Narasimha, he would pray to Narasimha and he would stand before these kings and destroy them and put such fear in them. So for years when I was traveling through Maharashtra, I kept hearing his name. Who's this guy? Like Shivji Maharaj? And I didn't understand the language. And then only the last 3-4 years, I'm like, wait a minute. This was the dude that protected Narasimha temples and thousands of others. And then he wrote prayers to Narasimha before he would go to battle, right? And one of the simple things he would chant was this Om Shrom, Om Shrom, Om Shrom, to embody this essence of Narasimha's potency, to become fearless, right? So a lot of these temples in Maharashtra in my second book were protected by him in underground caves, like in Nanded. Anyone know Nanded? Yeah, it's the eye capital of the world. So all the people that study here, they go back and they do free seva, 50% income, 50% seva. So one family, they told me, they said, I just randomly met them. They didn't realize they were descendants of one of the kings, so they owned this old fort. And they wanted to build a house on the cliff looking out. They wanted the best view, $1 million view. And while the bulldozer was pulling, they found this kind of like a temple underground. So they stopped, and that night Narasimha came in a dream and told them, finally you have found me. Your forefathers have worshipped me. Now it's your turn to worship me. So this is him. You see this form? Narasimha. Now what's really awesome about this deity is we don't worship generally Prahlad Narasimha. That's not a form mentioned in the Shilpa Vedas or Agamakosh. But behind the Sudarshan chakra, you have this beautiful boy who's smiling here. See? On the right side of the page, this side. You see Prahlad? When you get the book, look at this page. Prahlad is sitting there. The Brahmin told me, he said, Prahlad was fearless, for he knew that he was protected by Lord Narasimha. So he has this kind of cheeky smile, and he's sitting directly behind the Sudarshan chakra. which represents the Lord's nails. So these temples in Maharashtra blew my mind, because all of them had a Prahlad behind the Sudarshan, kind of with this cheeky smile, you know? And he's sitting in yogic posture, but he's holding the Sudarshan. His eyes are half shut. He's holding it just to show that just in case, though I am peaceful, it's the only form I've ever seen in India, this Kevala Yoga Narasimha, they call him, or Chintamani Narasimha. The chakra is there waiting, you know, just in case. And it's believed that he manifests this form for Sudarshan because Hiranyakashipu wasn't killed by Sudarshan, he was killed by the nails, Radharnaka. So Sudarshan was very hurt. Bhagwan, why didn't you use me? But that wasn't part of the deal. He couldn't break so he used his nails. So to show his love to his devotee Sudarshan, he manifests in this chakra Narasimha, where he's holding only Sudarshans, with the Sudarshan chakra yantra behind him. Or this form of Kevala Narasimha, where he only has the Sudarshan there. And you know, in the beginning, I thought, like I said many times in many classes, there's only Lakshmi Narasimha, or you can see on the pillar here, Ugra Narasimha. But each state worships him differently. In Gujarat, they call him Narasimha Krishna, right? Krishna Narasimha. Sometimes I'll see a body of Krishna playing the flute, and there's like a Nrsimha Shalagram. Something like, I was shocked. Or there'll be a deity of Ugra Narasimha, and Hiranyakashipu, like I said last time, he has the head of a goat. Because all the time a goat is going, making nonsense, talking nonsense. And Hiranyakashipu was constantly talking nonsense. So the Stapadis would carve this to show he was like a goat. He would never be quiet. I am Bhagawan. I am. Just like in my travels, I see many, how can I say this without offending anybody? Fake saints, self-appointed, I am Bhagawan. They even call them Bhagawan so-and-so, or Paramahamsa so-and-so, or just Bhagawan this one, Bhagawan that one. He is an incarnation of Bhagawan. And he's like, some of them are like 300, 400 pounds, like gray hair, and I'm thinking, but isn't Bhagawan beautiful? Right? Everything we hear about the Lord or his devotees, like Madhva was beautiful. Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, the Alvars, they were very beautiful, powerful people. And they left this world when they wanted to leave this world. So on my travels, I would meet many saints or self-proclaimed teachers or gurus, and they would say, I'm going to leave on this date and this time and this, but 10 years early they died. And one guy was, I am Narasimha. Oh, and of course I'm very happy. If you're Narasimha, then I need to come and be with you, because I'm always chasing Narasimha. So then I need to be right by your side. Not today, I'm a little sick, Can you come next week? I would never make them feel bad, though my instinct, I wanted to give them one tapar, like rascals. Even Lord Shiva, who's so amazing. Another misrepresentation in our movement, sometimes we criticize him. And I tell people we're the greatest fools for criticizing Shankara, because through him you can get bhakti. He'll give it like this. Look how difficult it is to get Krishna, right? But his devotee will give you Krishna like that. Of course he'll give you everything else. So you see now, Kumbh Mela, all these crazy Naga Babas, if you get in their way, they stab you, they're beating everybody, this is not Shankara. He is the most incredibly opulent in kindness and simplicity, and giving us an example of how to pray to Hari. Srila Prabhupada said, he is one and the same but different. Hari Hara. And Shiva will give you bhakti, he'll give you Narasimha. So every place I would go, I was having a talk with this professor, and also a big Ramanuja follower, because Because often the Shris, they say, only Narayan. If you worship anybody else or even think of them, you're worse than the most scoundrel, unloyal, unfaithful person. But in our philosophy, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they've missed the plot. I see the Devatas, every single one of them was offering prayers to Narasimha. They got to see him. Can you imagine? Shiva, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, the Ashwini Kumar, everybody, the Apsaras, they're standing in front of Narasimha, having darshan. So if I can get their help, yes, I will ask them. Shankara as well, his prayers are so spectacular. Yanamasmaranat Bita Bhuta Bitala. He said, my Lord, my dearest Lord, he calls Narasimha, my sweet Lord. If someone thinks of your name, all of their troubles, their mind, which is so crazy, pagal, will be at peace, and then all their problems that are caused by the material nature, or by yakshas, pishulas, ghosts, they will all be destroyed and evaporated, and burned to the ground. And Shiva says, this I assure you, those who worship you, as I worship your lotus feet. So it's really amazing. So we have such examples in our life, right? And as human beings, we want something here and now in front of us to worship or to see, right? Like when I was young, I used to test the limits. Come to me, Bhagwan, my pride, right? I want to see you. And, what do they say in Hindi? Pele married, Pele sadi. I had a lot of interesting mystical experience. Sadi ho gaya, everything stopped after marriage. Because then you're in the realm of, now you have to do your dharma, which is serving the grihastha ashram, which is the most tapasya. Sannyasis, what tapasya do they have? Does anybody tell me what tapasya they have? Compared to grihasthas? What about brahmacharis? They eat, puja, sleep, puja, another nap, puja, nap, puja, nap. One more nap, then puja. That's not austerity, that's freedom. Every person in this world wishes they could travel and have everything paid for. Like he was asking, most sannyasis now first class tickets, 5-star hotels. This is not tapasya. Yeah, but for grihasthas, you don't have this option. Because you're not free, you have to do your dharma. You have to serve the family which pleases the Lord. Prahlad talks about this. Don't get overwhelmed too much by the grihamedi stuff. Everything you do is for Bhagavan's pleasure. That's why I tell devotees, in your home you should worship Narasimha and pray to him. Protect the purity of this, even though Grihastha ashram can be very difficult. There's so much tapasya and you can build such spiritual potency in Sukriti. Because, yes, some people give up, some people walk away from it, but if you do it nicely and properly, your spiritual bank account is like incredibly becoming full and full every day, because you're not doing it for you. It makes Bhagavan happy. So, constantly, Madhva said this, Ramanuja Shankara said this. They praise the Grihastha ashram. A few of my ISKCON Swami uncles also praise. Because they know they have it easy. Travel from here to here, little sapta, little taka, shalom. Grihasthas can't just show up. Everything cooked. No. Who does all the seva here? Grihasthas. Who pays for everything? Grihasthas. Not the kids, right? So this is such a powerful ashram to build spiritual success. But I highly recommend that you take shelter of Lord Narasimhadev, because he will protect you from pride, envy, and jealousy. The three things that are plaguing, like a cancerous disease in our movement and our hearts. And Narasimha will remove these anarthas. And from what I've seen, for years of my life, trying to connect with really amazing swamis. They would never talk to me because I'm a white guy and I'm a sutra. Now often we would think, oh, this is very racist. I never thought that. I just thought, there's a moment in time for everything, Bhagawan. Right? Like when I went to this temple, anyone from Orissa here? Have you ever seen a deity like this? This deity is like 2,000 years old. I was trying to get a photograph 20 years ago. Absolutely not. Impossible. No. Through a queen, the queen of this place, which I think I told you last time, she's from New Jersey. She's a local. There she is. When I showed up there at the temple, I got caught by the Brahmin trying to take a photo. And he freaked out, trying to take my camera. He said, you have to get permission from the queen. I said, the queen? What is the queen? What are you talking about? I'll get permission from the king. And he was like, there ain't no king here, buddy. I was like, what do you mean? She has a husband. No, she is only queen. I said, okay, bring me to the queen. So I went to the queen. I walked in the palace, humongous palace, you know. This woman comes up to me in perfect, like, Jersey English. Can I help you? I was like, yeah, I'm looking for the queen. She goes, yeah, that's me. And she's wearing, like, shorts and, like, a tank top. I was like, what? You're the queen? She's like, I know. I was like, where are you from? She's like, New Jersey. I was like, what are you doing here? Well, to make a long story short, my great-great-great-great ancestors killed like 800 Brahmins in this village, and then they were cursed to never have a son. The kings, they would lie, and they would adopt a son. They only had girls. But her father was the only honest one. Before he died, he said, I will make you the queen, the Rani of this place, and you have to carry on the seva of Narasimha, and then have a nice Jagannath temple. Here she is in New Jersey, living her life with her husband and 2 kids. And then dad calls her and says, by the way, I never told you this, but you're actually like, you're gonna inherit this kingdom, you're gonna be the queen, and okay, blah, Maria. He like died a few days later. She told me, she said, it was like he told me this, and I was like, Dad, give me a couple of days to think on it, and then he died. So I said, she's like, what are you here for? I said, well, I wrote this one book about Narasimha, and there's this deity you have here that's out of this world. I need to take photos. She was like, okay, let's go. So she hopped on the motorcycle, and she said, here, get on. So I'm on the back, and she's like driving up to the temple, and we became good friends. And she told me her relationship with Narasimha, even though she's not so much following Sanatan, he has protected her since a child. Because she heard all the stories of how this deity creates miracles for those who come. So she's the first queen in Orissa, because Orissa is still under the British rule, and the British people, they allow a queen. Not anymore, because she passed away, but now it's back to the way it was. So, but she was allowed, and she only had 2 daughters. So it's interesting, and so they will also take over. And I'll never forget her faith. How she came like in her shorts, you know, in front of Narasimha, and she like kind of bowed. And she was like, oh, nice to see you. I was like, oh, thank you. She said, no, I was talking to him, Narasimha. And I was like, what? Personal. Our relationship with him is personal, not impersonal. Look at what he did to Prahlad. He picked him up, put him on his lap, and hugged him while crying, saying, I'm so sorry it took me so long. If this isn't bhav and rasa and unbelievable, sentimental, emotional, spiritual bliss, I don't know what is. People are like, Narasimha's Vaikuntha bhav, this is a bunch of nonsense. He picked up this boy and hugged him. How awesome is that? That's what we want, imagine? And then what did Prahlad do? He said, please free everybody, right? He didn't say, oh, thanks for killing my dad, he was so mean. Such a rascal. And then he said, oh, and then by the way, free everyone from envy and jealousy. Everyone. Like, I wouldn't say that if Bhagwan came to me, that's probably why nothing's happened, but I could think of other million things to ask for. Like, the new Tesla is pretty nice. But there's so many material things we're completely overwhelmed with, right? But this kid was like, boom, free everybody, remove everything, give them you. Oh, that's that. And then, by the way, I only want to be with you. And Narasimha said, yes, but who will rule the biggest kingdom in the entire universe still to this day? You have to. You're the demon's son. So you're Ada, demon, and Ada, devotee. Half-half. And then he ruled, and there was no fighting. Since that day, after Prahlad left this place, he's a Mahajan, he never dies. But when he was done with his Grihastha, there's been fighting ever since, pretty much. But when he ruled, the demons and the demigods never fought, because he was half demon blood, and he was a pure devotee. So, sometimes I think if there's problems, we should take shelter of Narasimha. Not committees, not life coaches, or therapists, Narasimha. So, I don't want to carry on too long because I know one of the most important things of this is the prasad. But, Jai Shri Dhruva Prabhu. But I wanted to tell you that this last time, I think last year when I was here, I had a table. So this second book, none of you, I mean, a lot of you won't ever be able to go to these temples. So this book is like bringing the Kshetras into your own home, right? It's 505 pages. And it's showing how different museums, like, does anyone know the Met Gala? You've heard of the Met? So check this out. I know everybody's running for prasad.
Everybody can take down.
Ek minute. Yeah. So, look at this. Every single big museum in the world, their most impressive statue of Hindu iconography is Yoga Narasimha. So in this book, I did collaborations with all of them, and they don't talk to people. They don't work with you unless you're a major PhD professor. I'm not. But when I sent them the first book, they were shocked. How in the heck? What is you? Like what? We've been looking for information about this God for years. Now this is very special. This is a painting I had commissioned. I had a lot of commission work in here. You probably can't see it, but it's Lord Shiva worshipping Yoga Narasimha, chanting the mantra Rajapada Stotra. Can you see Lord Shiva sitting there in front of Yoga Narasimha? Right? So this book took me about 2.5 years and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And it's the second edition, like we have the first, Narasimha, the Lost Temples. This is focusing on how yoga came from his manifestation. Pure yoga, bhakti yoga. And the ability to remove our attachment to the mind controlling our senses and the mind being controlled by the senses. And Prahlad's relationship, and many other devotees are in here, their relationship and love for Narasimha. So kindly, if you would like to get the book, get it as soon as you can. I have them on the ship here, but I only have a limited amount for America because I'm focusing on India. I'm leaving next week to go meet Narendra Modi and Yogi Adityanath to do a snanam in Kumbh Mela, and then we're going to sit and discuss the launch of this book in India because Modi is very much about yoga. And this will be like throwing a gigantic boulder in the lake of Sanatan and making a ripple effect in the world. Because everybody does yoga, even the Muslims. Everybody, Christians. And this is the God of yoga. And this is not like a cult. This is not pushing Hinduism. This is just stating a fact. There's this awesome man-lion God who protected a boy who was being tortured. And he killed him pretty seriously. And from that, all the goddesses from Everybody, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga, Kali, then Shiva, every demigod worshipped him. And then he became Yoga Narasimha, and he taught Prahlad the essence of how to control the uncontrollable mind. So, if you want the book, I have 2 tables here with a bunch of amazing blessed deities and kavachas and a bunch of other stuff, and the